Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Ballabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Ballabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Bhanachari. Yamuna Tira Bhanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parayabhacharya Astatharasa the Srimad His Divine Grace of Boicharna Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sekaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Vrindavan Dhamaki, Mayapur Navadvip Dhamaki, Jagannath Puri Dhamaki, Gangamai Jamunamai Ki, Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Third canto, chapter 19, text number 33. Sutta Uvacha Iti Kosharvavakyatam Iti Kosarvayaktam Ashrutya Bhagavat Katham. Ashrutya Bhagavat Katham. Shatanandam Param Lebe. Shatanandam Param Lebe. Mahabhagavato Dvija. Iti kosharvakyatam. Asrutya Bhagavat Katham. Shatandam Param Lebe. Mahabhagavato Dvija. Iti kosharvakyatam. Asrutya Bhagavat Katham. Shatanandam Param Lebe. Mahabhagavato Dvija. Shuta Uvacha. Iti kosharvakyatam. Asrutya Bhagavat Katham. Shatanandam Param Lebe. Mahabhagavato Dvija. Sutaha Sutta Goswami Uvacha said, Iti, thus, Kosharava, from Maitreya, son of Kusharu, Akyatam, told, Asrutya, having heard, Bhagavat Katham, the narration about the Lord, Shata Vidura, Anandam, bliss, Param, transcendental, Lebe, achieved, Mahabhagavataha, the great devotee, Dvija, O Brahmana, Shaunaka. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sutta Goswami continued, My dear Brahmana, Kshata, Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kosharava, Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Please repeat. Sri Sutta Goswami continued, My dear Brahmana, Kshata Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kosharava, Maitreya, and he was very pleased. If anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. And one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. This is clearly explained here. If one wants to have transcendental pleasure, he must find a person with authority. It is also stated in the Bhagavatam that simply by hearing from an authoritative source with the ear and the heart, one can relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. Sanatana Goswami therefore has especially warned that one should not hear anything about the personality of the Lord from the lips of a non-devotee. Non-devotees are considered to be like serpents. As milk is poisoned by a serpent's touch, so although the narration of the pastimes of the Lord is as pure as milk, when administered by serpent-like non-devotees, it becomes poisonous. Not only does it have no effect in transcendental pleasure, but it is dangerous also. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned that no description of the pastimes of the Lord should be heard from the Mayavad or impersonalist school. He has clearly said, Mayavadi basya sunile haya sarva nasha. If anyone hears the Mayavadi's interpretation of the pastimes of the Lord, or interpretation of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or any other Vedic literature, then he is doomed. Once one is associated with impersonalists, he can never understand the personal feature of the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages headed by Saunika, and therefore he addressed them in this verse as Dvija, twice born. The sages assembled in Naimisaranya, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami, were all Brahmanas, but to acquire the qualifications of a Brahmana is not everything. Merely to be twice born is not perfection. Perfection is attained when one hears the pastimes and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. Amagina timanandhasya gananjana shalakaya chakshush unlitamjana tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but by spiritual master he forced my eyes open with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Asrutya, having heard. Until you hear from an authoritative source, you don't know what is real happiness, what is real pleasure. There's a lot of counterfeit pleasure available in the world. Limited, time-serving, costs an arm and a leg, and a waste of time. It doesn't give you any tangible result. No freedom from the urges to indulge in sense enjoyment again. No rest, no peace of mind, no satisfaction. So the nature of every living entity, Anandamaya Bhyasat, is we are pleasure seeking. So that's what drives everybody. Unless you're getting some taste, some pleasure, then why endeavour? Why engage? Why do what you want to do? It's like a false promise. You work hard for us for 30 years, and at the end we'll give you a 2-week vacation when you retire. But you've burnt yourself out in the meantime, and you have a heart attack while you're on holidays. So it's a false promise. It doesn't give any satisfaction. You've got to be a fool to accept that. Unfortunately, many people, they are misled. They have been poisoned. There's a little idea here that to hear from a Mayavadi, well, it's not a little idea, it's a major part of this narration, this purport. To hear from a Mayavadi, an impersonalist even, not to hear even just from a non-devotee, just a non-devotee, somebody who is got no spiritual aspirations, then you're going to be influenced by them, and the end goal, if you are caught up in the web of impersonal, non-devotional activities, is death, ultimately death. The analogy used in the purport is of the serpent and milk. Milk is pure. Good milk is pure. What we're getting from the shops is white water with some other things in it. But real milk is pure. Real milk is medicinal. Hearing the right information, hearing the right pastimes, the right stories, is medicinal. We were on the bus in Calcutta, and we met a great devotee, Chaitanya Das. He was famous for hosting guests and devotees, and his wife was famous as a great cook. I never learnt her name. She was just Chaitanya Das's wife. But we managed to stay there, and he was on the bus, and he asked, well, what are you doing? And I said, we've just been to the Ayurvedic physician to get some medicine. And his comment was, if you know how to cook, then food is your medicine. If you know where to get the right nourishment, then that's your medicine. You don't need to look around for all these other things. It's right in front of our nose. Unfortunately, most people don't have access to that, or they're not intelligent enough, or they're influenced by so much propaganda. So the milk and the poison analogy, we'll get back to that. Milk is pure. And I've heard that milk never goes off, just if you don't interfere with it. You just keep transforming it into something else. Milk, after one day, it's not fresh. Milk is the most nutritious within 20 minutes of coming from the cow. All of the enzymes there, you can drink milk straight from the cow, and it's very digestible. Then milk, after some time, then you need to boil it, and you should have it hot. Hot milk is nourishing for the brain. Cold milk is nourishing for the body. So hot milk nourishes the brain, helps to develop the finer tissues of the brain. And these finer tissues need to be developed because we need intelligence to understand the nature of the absolute truth. It's not a simple process. It's not for fools. Then after the hot milk has been available for a whole day, then the next day it automatically cools down and it transforms into yogurt. Yogurt, first day again is very nourishing. The second day you have to water it down, and then after that it becomes something else. Yogurt, in the traditional village sense, is then transformed into butter. It's churned into butter. And you get butter and you get buttermilk. And buttermilk is that stage very medicinal. It's had all of the fat removed. So when you have something with yogurt, a lassi with yogurt, you have to water it down. You have to make it as light as possible. Buttermilk, and there's somewhere in there's the whey. I think that comes just from milk and curd. But in the yogurt, butter, then butter is further refined to make ghee. And ghee, it never goes off. In fact, ghee, which is 10 years old, transforms into a medicine. What are the benefits of that medicine? It can cure fever, can wake you up from a coma, different things like that. It's very powerful medicine. Revered, 10-year-old ghee, just like pickles. Old pickles, the older they get, the more relishable they get. So milk, like that. But if you bring or offer milk, or a serpent or something which has poison in it comes into contact with the milk becomes poisonous. You can have disastrous effects. In Mayapur, we had some local villagers working with us, and there was a cobra with a blue hood. It's only about that big, a little one, and they'd caught him. And they explained that the poison from this snake, only small, within 20 seconds, if you get bitten, your throat swells up and you suffocate. Very, very powerful poison. So the serpent's lips, even the example is just drinking. The serpent's not going to put poison in automatically, but you're just going to drink the milk, touch the milk. Because he's so full of venom, he's so poisonous that the milk becomes a dangerous substance. So I'll explain how that is related to Mayapur, just a little bit more about poison. Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam in the 4th canto, chapter 25, text 25, he talks about a use of poison. Politicians in bygone ages, and probably still the same method is used today, they will get a young girl and daily give her small doses of poison. It says in the purple they will inject poison, and more and more and more and more. And eventually she becomes so full of poison, she's poisonous. And then young girl is, as a politician might say, okay, have you got one of these young girls who's so full of poison they're ready to release? He will take that young girl and he will introduce her to his opponent. And by becoming attracted to the young girl, she's so poisonous, she can kill with a kiss. She's just so infected with poison, just with a kiss, then the opposition get killed. Nowadays, they're probably, rather than going through all the whole procedure of injecting poison, it would be not accepted. Then there's just a little capsule, and then somehow or other that capsule is transferred at the moment of kissing. So it seems, it's insidious, just a kiss, but death is there. So it seems okay just to hear from different people, but the poison gets injected. In relationship to the poison girl, they're called Visha Kanya. Prabhupada related in his experience, at one stage there was an area where typhoid was spreading like mad. And they went back there and they discovered this one girl, she got the nickname Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary. Because they discovered that she was so full of the typhoid bug that she was infecting other people. It was spreading just by her influence. Obviously infected, but not succumbing to it. You can have bugs in you, but if you've got a strong immune system, then they won't overtake. The good bugs and the bad bugs, they're in balance. So Typhoid Mary was a carrier of this poisonous effect. So the Mayavad philosophy, the Mayavadis, they have a principle, Yatamat Tatapat, and other ideas that it's all one. It's all one. We're all one. We're all spiritual, and ultimately we're all God, all the Supreme. And their method for presenting such a crazy, erroneous philosophy is to use word jugglery and just little ideas that capture your imagination. One of the devotees was asked after hearing a narration, so what do you understand? Nothing. It was just all gobbledygook. It was all word juggling. He couldn't grasp it. It's all secondary meanings. It's all interpretations. It's all speculation. But it sounds good. It sounds good. Oh, we're God. We're the Supreme. We can enjoy unlimitedly. It's just a matter of realizing it and giving up our bodily designation, giving up our ego. But it's poison. It's poison. Compare that to the Vaishnava philosophy of we're all spiritual. We're all spiritual, but in minute amounts. God is great and we are small. We have the same nature, the same quality as God. We're spiritual. But the quantity is infinitesimal, is minute. And so therefore, we should cooperate, we should render service, we should surrender to that Supreme. We should take shelter. We should accept that we are just part and parcel of God. We have the same nature. And when we understand that, when we come to the level of Brahman, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, When we come to that level, then we can associate with the Supreme Brahman. So the association means to engage in service. It's simple. It's nice. Unfortunately, it's not accepted by many people because they've bought out, they've sold out to an erroneous idea. So the poison and the Mayavadi is doomed. If you associate with such people, you're doomed, poisoned. Mayavadi philosophy is considered to be like spiritual suicide. Spiritual suicide. I'm just going to merge. I'm going to give up my identity. I'm going to become one with the Supreme. And suicide. It's very distasteful. Distasteful. So to get the taste, the real taste, the higher taste, it requires hearing from authority. This is another major point from this verse. Hearing from authority. Find an authoritative source. Find an authority. Find an advanced devotee. A principle of making spiritual advancement is to seek out advanced association. Find advanced association and then learn how to maintain that association, how to keep that association, how to exist in such association, to not be puffed up, to not be challenging, to not be proud, to not be antagonistic to such exalted association. And then one can derive transcendental pleasure. There's a symptom that, and it's described in the Shikshastikam prayers, that if one is not experiencing bliss, then there's something wrong with your desire. If you're not, the last line of the first verse, one should be enjoying nectar at every step. That's what the Sankirtan movement's all about. And when you feel that taste, then you can understand that you've connected properly. You've been hearing with the ear and the heart. Your heart's there. Sometimes you can be hearing, and there's different types of hearing. But if your heart's not there, if you're not focused, then the hearing will just go in one ear and out the other ear. And so it's a matter of focus, a matter of finding a transcendental, an advanced authority, and being a qualified hearer in the association of a qualified speaker. Then the transmission of that pleasure, that transcendental knowledge, that nectar, can take place, and one can experience satisfaction and bliss. And ultimately, one's destination will not be the place of birth and death. Janma kama chame divyam evam yeti veti tatvata takvadeham punajama naiti mamati sojana. If you understand the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, then upon leaving this body, you won't have to come back again. It's just a matter of hearing it. And to understand, we just keep hearing, keep hearing, keep hearing. We don't have to, it doesn't have to click on the first reading, because we've been poisoned. We've got a disease. It's described to be like jaundice. When you get jaundice, sweet things taste bitter. So the holy name and the pastimes of the Lord, they appear distasteful. Oh, I've got something better to do. I can't stay here. It's also said about coming and seeing the deities. You can measure how pleasing you've been to Krishna by how he reciprocates with you. If you look at Krishna and he's got a big smile, you understand, I've done something good. Krishna, if he's got a downcast face, and Krishna is a person, he's there, he can manifest those things, then you should adjust your behavior, adjust your activity to how long you can stay in the temple with the deities. So we can measure, we need measuring sticks. And the association of devotees, the interaction with the devotees, the reciprocation with the devotees. If we're having trouble with that, then there's something wrong with our behavior. There's nothing wrong with the process, nothing wrong with the devotees, nothing wrong with where we're at, nothing wrong with the philosophy. Just we don't have the taste, so we always bring it back to ourselves. What is it I'm doing wrong? How can I improve? How can I maintain that advanced association? If we're not getting advanced association, it's Krishna's arrangement. If we're not getting proper association, it's Krishna's arrangement. He's putting us in a straitjacket for our own protection. So to have that goal clearly in sight, the transcendental pleasure of the Lord and the pleasure of hearing and avoiding misinterpretation, wrong ideas, then we have to be very tight, compact, tight and tied up in the association of proper devotees and proper sadhana and proper behaviour and proper location, and then we'll understand what is the right authority. What is the right authority? What's the authoritative way to do things? Does anybody have any questions? Any comments? I've touched on a few areas of this purport. Devagora Haripava. Here it comes.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. You just said it then, but I thought it was really worth sort of repeating that point. You said all those things, nothing wrong with the devotees, nothing wrong with all that. But something we often don't hear is what you said, so nice, there's nothing wrong with where we're at. That's a really important point. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with where we're at. We are where we are. And, as long as we're facing the right way and doing the process properly, then we're perfect. We're perfectly situated, actually.
Yeah, in due course of time, what's described that will go back to Godhead, that will manifest. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam, Santushti yena kenava, and it describes one has to be satisfied somehow or other. There's three things one should be satisfied with, but there's three things one should not be satisfied with. You should be satisfied with where you are now, your accommodation, everything like that. You should be satisfied with your association, and you should be satisfied with your income. What's coming in to keep you alive. Somehow or other, Krishna, he's expert, he maintains everything and everybody, so we don't have to try and endeavour separately for that. But the three things we should be dissatisfied with are our giving in charity. How much can we give? And there's four things you can give in charity. You can give your wealth, you can give your words, you can give your intelligence, and you can give your life. So to give. We should be dissatisfied with how much we're giving. We should be dissatisfied with our there's a couple of ways of putting it. With our hearing, that we're not hearing enough. Our knowledge, we should be dissatisfied with our knowledge. There's so much more we should understand. We should be dissatisfied with the. I have to look it up. Sorry. With the austerities we perform, you understand the idea. There's certain things we know that if we go deeper in those things, we're going to get more benefit. So we should be dissatisfied that we're not actually applying ourselves. We're selling ourselves short. But satisfied with where we're at, where we are, our accommodation, our situation, satisfied with our association, and satisfied with our income. Those things are enough. But that satisfaction, santushti yena kenava, to be satisfied somehow or other. To be satisfied somehow or other. It's happiness. Happiness is intangible. Happiness and distress, they come and go. But satisfaction is a more stable platform that we can aspire for. I'm satisfied. In due course of time, if Krishna wants, he can expand my service. If he wants, he can beat me. Thank you.
Just I think on that same point, we use the analogy of the green mango and the ripe mango. So there's not much difference except for time. There's just a quick little point on the ghee. They found ghee in the pyramids. It was still okay. So ghee lasts forever. True.
Thanks for the class. I was reading a Nectar Devotion about like the Shantaras and how impersonalists kind of come in contact with pure devotees and then they can engaging Krishna in that way, once they've kind of accepted the appreciation for Krishna consciousness. Like, how does that work with devotional service and the Shantaras? And
Shantaras, in terms of the Gaudiya conclusion, the Braj Bhakti is our goal. Shantaras is considered to be not one of the main tastes we're aspiring for. We want to go a step forward. Shanta is neutrality. Neutrality. It allows us to, as you say, to appreciate. And just hovering, stable, not moving forward, not moving back. If you want to make advancement, you have to find an advanced direction. You have to push a little bit further. So that means active service. There's passive relationship and there's active relationship. Shantaras is more of a passive, just appreciation, and that's okay. But the next one, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya Rasa, they are more intimate, more detailed, more special. So that's our goal. We want to hear about the higher levels. And if we can get to Shantaras, then that's good. Shantaras is for liberated people. It's beyond the material energy. But and there's different types of liberation. I was just reading about the impersonalists. Krishna is personal and impersonal, but the descriptions about him as impersonal, they don't come to the conclusion that his personality is not there. So the impersonalists, their goal is Sayuja Mukti, to merge into the form of the Lord. That's a form of liberation. But as we said before, that's considered spiritual suicide, because there's just eternity. But knowledge and bliss, they're absent. You can't interact. It's suicide, spiritual suicide. It's like being put in solitary confinement. You don't have access to other people to interact with. You're just merged. So that's the achievement of somebody who's an impersonalist. They want to achieve Sayuja Mukti. So Shantaras it's a little bit more than that, but it's still just not active. We accept the four types of liberation: Shasti, Salokya, Sarupya, and Samipya. And they're personal, they're interactions with the Lord. So
would they not be relishing the pastimes though? So would that not be like part of the goal?
To really relish something, then you want to interact and you want to enhance it. Just to appreciate and, well, that's nice. It's good, but it's not proper taste. It's not full immersion. It's not full relish. And then it can be not so deep. Yeah, definitely it's better than nothing, but it's still not the goal, not the ultimate goal. Krishna Rupa Mataji.
I also read that no matter what rasa that you have, you're completely satisfied in that rasa. So those who are in Shantaras, they're actually still completely satisfied. It's not that they're going, oh, hang on a second, I don't want to be doing this. They have that innate sense of spiritual satisfaction. The other thing I wanted to mention was that even though at times it can be despairing when we see our spiritual progress so slow in the face of, how much we need to achieve, but we're actually in a joyful situation because we are on the right path. So even though that destination is far, far away, if we don't deviate and stick on the path Prabhupada's given us, then we will achieve success. May not be in this lifetime, it may take some time. And the final point I wanted to make was just an historical point of view with typhoid Mary. They couldn't figure out why, the pandemic, the disease was spreading so much, and somehow or other I'm not quite sure how they identified her, but wherever she went, because she was just a carrier of the disease, she wasn't affected by the disease. So wherever she went, and I think she was either a cook or a servant or something like that, and wherever she'd go, the family would die. And then eventually they pinned it down to, oh, it's this particular person who's spreading the typhoid disease around. I don't know what happened to her.
Isolation. That's nice, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot to contemplate and to discuss and to hear about and to get together and so benefit of a class like this is that you can pick up on a point and you can take it away and you can just contemplate. You can't sit there and be with your head in the books all day, but you can contemplate something and then you can bring it up and associate and discuss with people and the realization. If you have a realization, you share that realization. You share it 3 times and then it's with you. If you don't share it, then it disappears.
You mentioned that one should be satisfied with one's income, and I was wondering if you could just give some more advice on that, because I find that one really hard, especially when you have children.
Karuna Krishna, he's the cook down in Sydney, his son, what's his name? Nila. He told me he's got a lot of desires, but he's poor. And he said his only resort is to develop more strategies, to be smart and to work out how to achieve those different desires, how to use the resources that you've got at hand, how to capitalize on what you've got. One Indian gentleman, he wanted to be wealthy. He had a wealthy relative, and it was the plague. And he went and he said, "I've got this idea. I want to be wealthy. I want to be rich. I want to." So his relative said, "What's the problem? There's money to be made everywhere. See that dead rat over there? They're paying 2 paisa or 2 rupees for each dead rat you bring in." Okay, so he responded. He was smart. So he went and picked up the rat and cashed it in and got a few more rats, cashed more in, got a little bit of capital and started to do things and started to build up. So you have to make use of what you've got. It's just to expect that all your desires will be fulfilled. It's unfair. It's unrealistic. It's nasty. Even it's described in the Krishna book that there's an art. We have desires, we have expanded needs and stuff like that. You have to learn the art of shrinking those desires. Just like we want a good car, but a car just means we get from A to B. The rest of it is we just want false prestige. We want to be showing off, but just be satisfied. Learn, and Krishna, you'll see that Krishna will fulfill all your desires. And the devotees, they understand. I think in the temple once there was no money. The last $400 was available. So the temple president took it and he bought a beautiful necklace for Radharani. He tries to please Krishna with whatever resources he had. The next day somebody joined up and donated $5,000. So you put the right goal in place to please Krishna with whatever you got, and Krishna says, Patram pushram palam toyam, even if just with a leaf, a flower, fruit or water, I'll be happy if you offered with love. So that's what we've got. That's what we can capitalize on. So just turn that to Krishna and talk to Krishna. Well, okay, something's wrong. I can't understand how to satisfy how to look after my family in the way that they expect. So what should I do? And Krishna, from within their heart, he can inspire them, and they change. They get moving. They assist. And then you have to notice that. You have to fan the spark. Krishna won't let us. And to the contrary, there's so much that we have to be, okay, take it easy, too much prasad. Krishna Kirtan? Yeah, it's only 23 minutes past.
Just 2 quick points on that same point you just made. There's Srila Prabhupada writes one purport. We should be satisfied with what you earn from 8 hours endeavour. So we shouldn't over-endeavour. So it's usually 8 hours work or service, 8 hours taking care of the body, sleeping, eating and bathing, and 8 hours of direct spiritual activity. That's generally the ideal makeup of a 24-hour cycle. But so for householders, it's 8 hours. But at raising kids, we've found and I often tell this to householders, you have to understand when you have children, the children come with their own karma as well. So at least in our case, we found when we had kids, more money would come along. And as soon as the kids left home, less money was coming in. But that was okay because we didn't have kids. So it seems that Krishna arranges also for those living entities to be cared for up to a certain point. So anyway, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, people used to have big families because there was the workforce. They could help you with harvesting the grain and like that. So they're an asset, and we can see their value, and Krishna certainly looks after us. And the bigger one, and their hand-me-downs clothe and look after the next one. It's a compounding thing. It's an asset. Okay, thank you very much. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi.